The Chicago Bulls just survived the most grueling 10-game stretch to start the NBA season. The Bulls have had the toughest schedule to start the NBA season, and they're coming out of that at 6-4. Despite some Bulls fans thinking that the sky is falling, it's not done yet. The Bulls have taken some punches, but with Coby White and Zach Collins close to returning, things are about to get even better for the Chicago Bulls. Tonight, they face off against the 9-2 Detroit Pistons, the hottest team in the Eastern Conference, and it's a chance to once again reset the tone on the season. We're going to talk about all that, plus Noa Essengue's first G League game and more right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And listen, 3-game losing streaks suck, and they suck for the Chicago Bulls, especially when the Bulls are in a lot of games that were very winnable down the stretches of these games, especially the last two. These were very winnable games against Cleveland, for example, and the Spurs that the Bulls could have won. And execution and some other things led them to not winning it. But despite the tone from some Bulls fans that more so were waiting for, and I told you so in regards to the Chicago Bulls, the Chicago Bulls not being able to keep up the momentum and pace, the Bulls are still sitting in a spot right now that, you know, when you look at their opponents combined, by everybody that the Bulls have faced off combined, are 22-10, right? That's between the Milwaukee Bucks, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the San Antonio Spurs. The three teams that have beaten the Chicago Bulls over this 3-game losing streak are 22-10 combined. 22-10, right? So the Bulls have had a mix of top teams in the conferences. And because of that, it was another loss, and it sucks. And you look at the loss against the New York Knicks, right? All the teams that have beaten the Bulls so far are 28-13. 28-13. So the Bulls have had a grueling schedule to start off with. Now, I'm not here to say that shouldn't frustrate some Bulls fans, because again, we were in these games. These games were winnable, and that's what the revisionist history sometimes comes in to. Like I said, people who more so want to live in the "I told you so" world. But with the Bulls' strong 6-1 start, the Bulls are now 6-4 following their first 10. Keep in mind, there were some people that would have said if the Bulls had 3 wins out of the first 10 games of how the schedule looked coming into the season, they would have taken that. And so this whole thing of acting like it's all doom and gloom for the Bulls, it's not. Now, there are some things that they definitely need to tighten up, and we talked about that. Billy Donovan got to tighten up his coaching in some places. We got to stop these long stretches of having an inability to score in crucial moments where we just can't put any points on the board, while the other team is putting points on the board. Those are the type of things that the Bulls are going to have to look to get together as this thing goes on. But overall, I'll say this, the Bulls are in a really good spot. 6-4 right now, despite the hardest schedule in the NBA. The Bulls' opponents have a 59% win percentage on that. That's tough, right? So now, with that said, the Bulls with a tough start, things are about to start getting easier for the Chicago Bulls. Because, we next face off against the Detroit Pistons. We're going to preview that game coming up next, the number one team in the Eastern Conference. But there's going to be some more easier games coming up for the Bulls, right? And when you consider the fact that Coby White and Zach Collins have missed this time and they're expected back in the upcoming weeks, Coby could be back as soon as the game against the Utah Jazz when we go on that short West Coast trip. But Coby's coming back soon. Zach Collins is probably another week or so away from returning himself. But both these players coming back to this team are going to do nothing but increase the chances of this team winning, right? And so now, getting those guys back in the coming weeks, that already strengthens this team. And you're adding them to a rotation that's already been effective, right? And effective without 2 of its key parts of it. Zach Collins is supposed to be the backup center on this team. Now, Jalen Smith has put together now, 2.5 really good games straight, but overall, he's been really good over the course of the season. He's only had 1 scoreless game so far. He's had other games where he hasn't shot the ball well, but I think for a player like Smith, he's made his impact felt in more games than not. Getting Zach Collins back, right? Hopefully Billy Donovan showing more of that openness to play the double big lineup also. And so when you look at this team and the Bulls and the teams that they're coming up against in the upcoming next couple of weeks, right? things not just because things get easier on them as far as schedule wise, but they're becoming a better team, right? They're gonna add players back to the roster. They're gonna be key, like Coby White is coming back. But then you look at it, yeah. After Detroit, we got Utah. That's gonna be an easier game. But then we got Denver, Portland, Miami. Those are gonna be all tough games. But I'm not saying those aren't winnable games. Miami's offense has been great. Denver's depth has been amazing. They're back looking like a legit championship contending team that they wanted to do by adding depth. They only have 2 losses on the season as of this recording. So, of course, those are going to be Portland, one of the up-and-coming teams in the Western Conference. And I tell you what, it looks like that pick, if we don't get that pick this year, we may get it next year, but they're 5-5 on the season. But then after that, we got Washington, New Orleans, Charlotte, Indiana, right? All games against teams that those are all 4 very winnable games. And then we got after that, we got Indiana, Orlando, Brooklyn, another game against Indiana, before we get into a tough stretch again where we have Golden State, 2 games against Cleveland, 2 games against Atlanta, and then Philly and Milwaukee. So, things get tough again as they die off, and we knew that coming into the season. They have that middle part of December that gets a little bit easier. The end part of December picks back up, and then when we start January, it gets a little bit easier again for the Bulls. So it comes about what I've said before, win the weeks, right? How many of these weeks can you win? Doesn't mean you're going to win every game, but how many of these weeks can you come out with more wins than losses? And that's where you want to see the Bulls stack up over the upcoming weeks. But things are not done for this team. Despite Billy Donovan making some bad decisions, despite the Bulls not making, or not being able to score down the stretch, with Coby White coming back, it fixes a lot of that. And, it's going to help with a lot of that. I'm not going to say everything's just going to be fixed magically by Coby White coming, but it does put you in a much better situation to try to win some of these games. It's not done for the Bulls. It's not done at all for the Chicago Bulls. And the way that this team has shown fight, I just wish that the faith of the Bulls fans matched the fight that we've seen on the team. And I get it, the losses are losses, and for some people, there's no such thing as moral victories in the NBA, and for that, I can't really blame you guys, right? But this team has competed, and nobody really expected and gave the Bulls that amount of it. For what it's worth, right? The remaining streak, the schedule, the Bulls have the easiest schedule remaining in the NBA. I'm just saying, it's something to look at, right? When you look at that, the Bulls have 70 games left on the season and have one of the easiest schedules remaining in the NBA. And, those 2 games are going to be added back to the Bulls schedule as well. That's why it's 70 instead of the 72. So this is a time where the Bulls need to make their move. And not to say that, the thing is I don't want this team to be a bottom feeder team. I don't want them to only be beating the bad teams. I'm not saying that. But to walk away with the record that the Chicago Bulls have had and the schedule that they've had with still a winning record, I think that's the thing that they're above 500. That's where you want to be when you go through a tough and grueling schedule. And then as you get those easier opponents in, you definitely want to take care of business of those. Now, the Bulls start dropping some of those games. I'm going to be a little bit pissed off. I'm not going to lie to you. But, when you look at it, some of the easier teams or the worst teams in the NBA, the Bulls haven't faced off yet. Washington, Brooklyn. We got 4 games against Indiana coming up. 2 games against New Orleans, another game against the Kings, 2 games against the Dallas Mavericks, for example. There are a lot of games left on the schedule, and the Bulls are in a position where, listen, because of how tough that they have played, even the good teams and the record that they sit at right now, this is going to be is still shaping up and heading into the direction of this being a very special season for the Chicago Bulls. And it just seems like some people are completely missing that based off just the fact that we went through a 3-game losing streak. I get it. It sucked. I had to be live for you guys get to see my disappointment live during the game, every single game, because I'm watching it live with you guys. But the better times are coming and reinforcements are coming. And the combination between those 2 things of the schedule getting easier, us making it through the hardest part of our schedule or one of the hardest parts of our schedule with a winning record without Coby and Zach Collins, and 2 of those games without Ayo Dosunmu, 1 of those games without Josh Giddey. Things are not doom and gloom around here. We're not done, and the season is far from over. And so, the season is still shaping up to be a pretty fun season for the Chicago Bulls, and I'm glad that I'm going to be able to get to watch it, review it, and be there live with you guys. But with that said, the Bulls do have a game tonight, and they have a game against the Detroit Pistons, the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference. And while the Bulls do have a win over this team already, this is a much different Pistons team than when we faced them early in the season because they've started to find their groove. And Cade Cunningham is averaging 27.5 points per game. Jalen Duren himself has turned himself and stepped up as not only a scorer, but also a defender. The one thing that a lot of people had questions about was, is he really going to be that type of big man defensive guy there, and he's looking like he could be that guy this season, right? And so when you have Cade Cunningham averaging over 27 points per game, and then you have Jalen Duren coming in averaging 19 points per game, I believe is what it is coming into this game. This is going to be a tough matchup for the Bulls. Now, everything isn't doom and gloom because they have some injuries themselves, or they're missing some key players that are going to be out this game. Isaiah Stewart is out, already been ruled out, doubtful for this game. Asura Thompson is out with an ankle injury as well. Hell, we just mentioned Jalen Duren. He's listed as probable for this game. And then they were already missing Jaden Ivey and Tobias Harris. They were already missing those guys. So we'll see. And even Cade Cunningham is actually listed as questionable with a hip injury as well going into this game. But this is still a Pistons team that has 7 players averaging in double figures. As we're seeing throughout the league, like you're seeing a lot of players, the teams use a lot of players, but one of those players that is averaging double figure, 2 of them, and Tobias Harris and Asura Thompson are going to be out this game. So, this has been a team that's had really big guys. Denisis, I believe, is Jenkins, who stepped up really big in their game. He got called up for the G League, hit a game winner for this Detroit Pistons team. But you gotta watch out for the balance from this team. They're going to try to bring it from all angles. Now, with Asura Thompson being out, that does take away their best wing defender in this game, which if Josh Giddey does play, it means that they're not going to be able to switch Asura on him, which could lead Josh Giddey to cook. Absolutely cook in this game if he does play. We'll see how he's going with that ankle injury. But this is a team that you cannot take lightly by any stretch of the imagination. To win this game, the Bulls are going to have to rebound, keep turnovers low, and attack the goddamn basket, because the Detroit Pistons, their offense isn't the thing that stands out. They are the 3rd best team per defensive rating in the entirety of the NBA, and that's where you have to look out for them. That's why rebounding is going to be key. Not keeping the turnovers low is going to be key for this team, because this team offensively, the Bulls defense can do some things defensively against this team. They're not a hugely efficient team. They're 24th in the league in true shooting percentage and 22nd in effective field goal shooting percentage, and 25th in assist percentage. So their offense isn't this type of fluid, amazing offense that we've seen from other teams that we've played recently. Despite their record, if you play solid defense against the Detroit Pistons, it can put you in that game. How you deal with their defense is going to be huge there. But with missing Asura Thompson, like I said, they're missing a huge part of that. But Jalen Duren is there, and Jalen Duren has had a really solid season defensively, so getting into the paint and attacking that paint, trying to get him in foul trouble is going to be key. The matchup of the bigs, with Isaiah Stewart being out in this game, it means that they are not only missing another player that can guard some bigs for them, which is affecting their big man depth, which is good, right, for the Chicago Bulls that you have there. But Nikola Vucevic, Jalen Smith, they're going to have to be locked in with this team by being active in the paint. Paul Reed is still nothing to overlook at all for this Pistons team. I don't care what the stats say about Paul Reed. Paul Reed is one of those players that when he is called upon to do some stuff defensively, he can be a really solid defender for you. And, while the offense isn't huge for Paul Reed at all, I think he's averaging like 5 points per game. You got to be aware of him defensively, because where he's at defensively and who they put him on can make a big determination factor in this. We've seen the Bulls also in the last few games give up big 3-point shooting nights. Duncan Robinson can take advantage of that for the against the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls got to look out for that with Duncan Robinson and Ron Holland. Listen, Ron Holland is averaging less than double-digit figures. He's only started 2 games this season, but with the injuries that they have, look out for Ron Holland as well to have to be able to try to give them a little bit of extra oomph on both sides of the ball. So we'll see what Ron Holland can bring in this one. Matas Buzelis' buddy there in Ron Holland, but overall, looking at this game, you're going to need. If Josh Giddey's playing, you're going to need Josh Giddey, Vooch, Matas Buzelis to really lock in, right? Trey Jones is going to have to do his thing. The thing that I want to see from Trey Jones is be more aggressive with taking shots. Even if if the defense leaves you open, take the shot. Make them have to play you for it. And, I get it. Coby White's coming back sooner rather than later. Trey's going to go back to the bench unit. But I want to see that from Trey Jones a little bit more. I know his first duty is facilitating, helping taking that pressure off of Josh Giddey, which Josh Giddey's grown as an off-ball player really well. And then Matas. I want to see Matas continue his development. Somebody asked after the last game, with considering the preseason hype, are we disappointed in Matas? And no. I mean, I try to call that a little bit for you guys coming into the season and just was realistic on what Matas was probably going to provide this season. And for that, he's provided from that. I just want to see more consistency for Matas Buzelis as we go on into the season as well, which I think we'll get from it. And then our bench. Our bench continues to be something that's special for us. The depth, even with missing players, And so we're going to need everybody off that bench. We're going to need Ayo and Kevin Huerter and Jalen Smith, who we mentioned, Patrick Williams, right? We're going to need these guys to continue to step up and give the Bulls some good quality minutes in a game like this. The Pistons are coming in missing some key pieces. The Bulls are going to be missing some key pieces. One of the pieces that could play in Josh Giddey could still be a little bit hobbled when it comes down to it. And so we just need the Bulls to lock in, get this win, and then, Coby White's coming back sooner rather than later. And when we are at that point, we'll see what the Bulls then and how much further this offense can really go at that point in time. But let me know what you guys think on that down below. What are some of the biggest keys you're looking for in this game against the Detroit Pistons? What are your biggest concerns? Let me know what you guys think on that down below. Last topic. So I'm going to start now with the G League back in full. Every Sunday, I will be dropping weekly recaps of what happened with the G League. So we'll be going game by game. The biggest performances stand out. Of course, we're focusing on Noa Essengue and Lachlan Albrick in those games. But I do want to talk about the G League debut of Noa Essengue. Now, this was something that a lot of Bulls fans don't want to see, right? Noa Essengue, 28 points on 11 of 21 shooting, 8 rebounds, and 1 assist. No block shots from Noa Essengue, only 1 turnover as well. And this is why Noah got sent down to the G League, for his ability to be able to do a little bit of everything, right? Now, the 21 shots, he's not getting that at the NBA level. He may not even get 5 shots if he was in the Bulls' current rotation. And so having that ability to really work on his game, he was 3 of 3 from the free throw line, 2 of 6 from the three-point line as well, really efficient around the rim. Him and Lachlan Albrick, who had 15 points, 7 assists, and 7 rebounds, they are the reasons to watch the Chicago Bulls team down there. And even Wooga Poplar, who had 13 points as well. Listen, I will do a full G League recap, but for what it's worth, one of the keys for Noa Essengue to not have to play a lot in the G League is to show that he's head and shoulders above that level of competition. And in this first game, Noa Essengue not only showed that, but he displayed every bit of the activity that could make him a player that at minimum is going to make him a player that can be in the rotation in the NBA eventually at some time once Billy Donovan and the coaching staff feel he's ready. But Noa Essengue had a great first G League game, and I can't wait to recap the week when we do the G League episodes this upcoming, this Sunday is when I'll drop that episode. But that is my time for today, y'all. Now, let's go ahead and get into the mailbag. We got one voicemail to get into. This one is from Darius.
What's going on, man? Old Darius from Dallas, brother. I thought that, I said, man, I watch just about every Bulls game. Why don't I go and support my boy on over on Bulls Central, man? So I figured I'd go and call. I got to harass you over here too, man. So, but yeah, I like what, I totally agree with you, for what you said about Jalen Smith. And he's more so the style that I think, will work for this team. I absolutely cannot stand, borderline hate Nikola Vucevic. He's so fucking slew-footed, and you hate him for the same reasons that I'd never liked Dirk Nowitzki when I grew up. Everybody was talking about, oh, he dropped 40 points. Yeah, but the motherfucker gave up 30 on the other end, so I'm not impressed by that. And I think we just need a guy that, hey, man, give me 15 to 20 points with elite defense and run that floor, and I'm good. And so I say that to say, man, bringing a Daniel Gafford back, that would absolutely, that would be lethal for this team, because now we're in a situation where when the center can run the floor too, when the center can keep up with the guards and run the floor as well, now you're going to have everybody sagging back, and guess what Coby White going to do at the top of the key? Pull up and hit that three. Transition threes are about to start going up. Hit Coby White and Kevin Huerter would absolutely eat with a guy like Daniel Gafford on the floor. So that's what we need. We need a guy that runs the floor on both ends of the ball. And if we don't go get a Daniel Gafford, just to talk about what you were mentioning, Haize, with the Pacers. Hey, maybe we can unload Vucevic over there. Or if they want Jalen Smith instead, that's fine too, but go get an Obi Toppin. Obi Toppin was one of those guys I wanted us to draft real bad, and we never got him. But imagine an Obi Toppin with this team, running the floor, catching oops, an athletic guy that is actually going to be a defensive presence in the paint, and not just from a blocking shot standpoint, but a defensive rebounding standpoint. Like my old high school coach always told me, defense wins games, but rebounding wins championships. And when you have a slew-footed Vucevic down there, who some nights he'll go get you 10, 12 rebounds, some nights he'll get you 6. he doesn't really fit. He needs to be with more of a slow-paced team. I think Vucevic would do really well with a team like Golden State or a half-court team, somebody that plays at a little bit slower pace. We need that guy that can run that floor. So, yeah, I'm all with it. Bring Daniel Gafford back. If not, then we can go get Obi Toppin and protect us up and bear down.
Shout out to Darius, who is a consistent caller over on Chicago Bears Central, making the leap over here to Chicago Bulls Central. I appreciate you. Here's the thing. I don't have the hate that you have for Vooch. I think that Vooch came in here to not be a defender, and he's been pretty damn good and consistent at what we brought him in here to be. But with that said, I don't disagree with you on the style of center that the Bulls need going forward for this team. They need a lob threat. They need a rim runner. They need somebody who can get out in transition and can protect the paint and catch those lobs from Josh Giddey and Coby and those type of. They need that type of center. Make no mistake about it. Now, I am also of the mind that I can see Nikola Vucevic getting a new deal here while the Bulls look to find that center of the future, especially if they're going to do it in the draft. But if you go after somebody like a Walker Kessler or somebody after like a Daniel Gafford, somebody like a Mark Williams, if you go after Mark Williams, I still want to see the Bulls, draft a young center and then, give Mark Williams a 2 or 3 year deal where you're hoping that he's going to be, the bench center by the end of that deal because I just don't trust his injury history. But there's no doubt that the Bulls do need a different type of center to really kind of fit in with this style that we're playing a little bit more. But for what it's worth, I'll give Vooch credit. He's adapted about as well as you can hope for Vooch to adapt, right? He's done that pretty well over this time, and I got to give him credit for that too. Like the way that he's adapted to the system that isn't necessarily best fit for him has been pretty damn good. And so we'll see, how he continues to do that this season. But I do think the Bulls understand that they are going to have to go out and try to find a different center long-term fit for the Chicago Bulls. And we'll see when and if they do that properly. So, but great voicemail, Darius. Feel free to call in on this side anytime. Thank you guys for tuning in, man. So listen, in bringing the show to a close, y'all, it's not done for the Chicago Bulls. And like I said, don't allow the doom and gloom people to make you think. Tough stretches reveal who's built to last. And the Bulls have weathered this tough storm really well. This team is improving. They're playing well. Help is on the way. We're making it through the hardest part of the schedule, and that's good. Drop your predictions down below. Let me know what you guys think on everything down below. Make sure you're following us at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. BullsCentralPod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and or voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. And like I like to end every episode on, stay safe out there, see red, and always go Bulls. Love you guys. Peace out.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.